Welcome to What the Hell. Today we're going to have a special guest. We're going to have, it's Kurtz, right?
It is Michael Kurtz.
Michael Kurtz. And we've been going on and off of visiting each other mostly at the Post.
Correct.
And me just going out there. I think the one time I helped out with the
brisket cook-off.
You were out there. And the yard sale.
Yard sale. You've been out there for rucks.
Yeah. Which I don't like exercise. And I just don't get it. Because every time someone goes, we're going to ruck, I'm like, why the hell would you do that to your body? So I hunt.
So let me tell you how that all started for me. Because this is one of those things where John Skelton, the clown that shows up here on a regular basis.
Yeah, the regular host.
Yeah, the regular host. He looked at me one day and says, dude, you should ruck with me. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what rucking is. He goes to explain what rucking is. And I said, dude, I was in the Air Force. We don't ruck.
Fuck yeah.
Dude.
I said the same thing.
Why would I want to do this? I went out with him once or twice. We ended up meeting up with these we'll call them hardcore or more hardcore ruckers.
Yeah.
Who had been spending some time up in Lawton with the Blackout Rucking crew. And one thing led to another. We ended up going and visiting with these. It's an awesome group up there. They are an incredible bunch of people up there in Lawton.
Yeah, I had fun just the recent one that we did just to...
the Brew Ruck.
Yeah, the Brew Ruck.
Yes.
Which we... I thought it was fucking hilarious, the reason why you all were doing it.
Ranger panties?
No, not the Ranger panties. You made the penis.
Oh, you know what? That was completely unintentional. That was...
Yes.
No, that was...
I bet that Navy pilot said it was unintentional, too.
Yeah. True story. But no, it truly was unintentional. In fact, we were at the next to last stop. And one of the guys is laughing, and he goes, dude, did you see the route? I said, no, I have not seen the route. He pulls it up, and it looks like a penis, and it looks like a very happy penis.
Depending on which way you go with it.
Oh, and, it is what it is.
Well, yeah. No, the balls are on the top. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
That's another thing I like about doing it like this on the internet, especially if I put it in, it's like, no children should be seeing this. We can say what we want.
This is 18 plus, correct? 18 and over.
Definitely. There was a point in time Johnny literally looked at me and was like, "You got to edit that shit out." And then he finally, it's like 5 minutes in, but we're so low on the viewing and everything, so we don't have to really worry about that. But what's really funny is, like, you got to edit that stuff out. He stopped doing that. So I don't have to do that much editing anymore.
For the record.
Especially with the stuff that I like to say half the time.
For the record, anytime you're dealing with Johnny, you have to edit stuff out. I have to get onto him and say, dude, slow down. There's women and children in the room. And he doesn't sometimes recall.
Oh,
he's terrible. He's terrible.
I'm a hell of a lot worse than him.
He's actually gotten he's a heck of a lot better.
And I'm doing that.
And and we can now take him back out in public.
He can't take me out in public. This is from when I was in high school.
Right, which is why you're allowed to come on rucks out in the woods.
Yeah.
Away from people.
And yeah.
Yes.
I'm perfectly happy with that.
So, yeah, anyhow, John got us into the rucks. And I was just like, man. But now I'm all over it. I love it. I have a crappy foot. I have a crappy back. And believe it or not, the rucking has actually helped.
It does. It's like I was telling somebody, it's like, well, how do you like that, though?
You know what? The coffee's really good. And shameless plug for another veteran coffee company that's local. And I love Black Rifle. But
that coffee right there is Rambo.
That's awesome.
He made a ram, and it looks like I'll show you the package when we're done.
All right.
Because I forgot it in the kitchen the other day. But yeah, a lot of the exercise that's the reason why I started exercising a little bit more. It's because it was Tim Kennedy.
Okay.
He was telling me that. Yeah, if you got a headache or something like that, just walk it off.
Which is wild.
And I was like, dude, I usually throw up off of the after a big run when I was a kid. I don't think that's really good. And he's like, trust me, walk it off. Well, one day I walked it off for about 6 hours. I had I have massive headaches when it starts to rain and everything, so I have like massive headaches because I explained this several times, sometimes on this podcast, but mostly other people. What happens is this is science, is the flowers ejaculate all their pollen and just spew that stuff all in the air and everything right before it rains. And then after it rains, it does it again. So that's the only reason why I can think of that my headaches happen. And once the rain happens, all that plant jizz gets hit down.
Is that what we're calling it now?
Yeah, that's what I'm calling it. It's called science.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I
have it in the Google right here in front of me, and it's plant jizz.
That is the most Greta Thunberg bullshit I've ever heard.
But no, and there was another thing that this just happened today that I just found out about it. I guess Time Record News did an article of it, and it must have been like a couple of days ago, about what's happening with the lodge.
So we have an American Legion post right out here on Lake Wichita, and it borders the water. That's one of the great allures to our post, to be quite honest. And
yeah, because everybody can go fishing, you can go swimming a little bit. I'm surprised you don't have it like logged off, so you can actually have people go swimming in the lake.
We really don't, and we really don't want to swim in that lake most
anyways,
of the year. Yeah. But as far as fishing goes and things of that nature, kayaking is big out there from the boat ramp out there at the post.
The guy I'm borrowing the studio from, it's like, Dave, $300 we can go kayaking. It's like, no, I didn't. I joined the Air Force for a reason. I don't like boats.
Right. So, a couple of years ago, they had started discussing doing a circle trail and continuing the trail around the lake. We had heard rumors that they were going to move out in front of the post. We had heard rumors that they were going to go around the front of the post, which wouldn't be a big deal. We had heard rumors that they were going to float a bridge out in the water behind people's houses and the post and things of that nature. There was really no definitive rumor, and as a post, we made a couple of calls to...
That's better.
Okay, there we go. So we made a couple of calls to the city, and with no response. Odds are they probably contacted the other American Legion post, which is literally 2 doors down. And I get that. The issue is nobody from the city made any type of concerted effort to come out and say, hey, you know what? How is this going to affect you? They didn't do it with the homeowners. I guess why should we expect them to do that with us? But our post represents over 230 veterans in the Wichita Falls area. So we came out one day, and those guys are planting stakes, and this is where they plan on running the trail. It's interesting because that particular chunk of property behind the post, there's some things I can't say right now because
legal issues.
We may have to reach out to move forward with fighting this. But at one point in time, they did fill a lot of that in with, it was a handshake deal with the city. Excuse me. And what they did is they filled in that the cove that used to be right out there. Mm-hmm. And they built a Quonset hut out there. And that was the first American Legion post out there, 169. Okay. It was a Quonset hut in the same spot where you see the willow trees and the picnic tables and things like that. A few years down the road, they were able to do away with the Quonset hut, and they built the brick building. In fact, it was the local brick union that built that for the post.
There's a brick union?
Once upon a time. And that leads to another interesting
That
deal.
that actually that's kind of I've never even heard of like a brick union.
This was back in the 60s and 70s. That said, the there was a gentleman he was a retired Marine or a separated Marine from World War II, came home and started a brick company. Forgive me if I can't remember the name of that brick company, but it is literally still here in Wichita Falls on a very small level. Uh, but that gentleman, he stayed on our muster roll for about 20 years after he had passed away. And nobody knew because when we came in, we had no idea who a lot of these people were. Bear in mind, when we took over the post, there were literally 3 people there and about 40 or 50 people on the roll. And this was back in 2013. Anyhow, it was built and that area became literally a park. So over time, that handshake deal with the city continued to have recycled old building materials, concrete, things of that nature dumped out there, and it turned into
a landfill.
No, these are all solid pieces of concrete. They got pushed out there, and you can see it all the way down the lake, down the front of the north side of the lake. But in 1986, they finally put a stop to it. However, a lot of that property is not on the survey. So at some point, apparently, the city had decided that was theirs. So again, I don't know how this is going to play out. We're going to have to wait and find out. But we're going to see what we can do. We're kind of disappointed that the city of Wichita Falls didn't come to us and communicate with us. It's a community that claims to have high regard and respect for the veterans here in Wichita Falls and the military members out there at Shepherd Air Force Base. But for 230 veterans out of American Legion Post 169, they've literally shown zero regard. So it's a bit of a hard pill to swallow right now.
Yeah, I bet. But the main reason, well, other than this new venture that's going on, I can understand that the city does that. Every once in a while, you hear like horror stories of what certain things happen in the city, and it's just ridiculous. But we were actually, I wanted to talk to you and finish our conversation of other people's pain.
Right.
And what we were actually talking about is how one person can be understanding on a person's pain, and pain, I mean like a person's situation.
Okay.
How they feel horrible in this situation. Like to this day, anybody that comes up to me telling me about a bad relationship problems and everything like that, I was like, okay, get rid of them.
Right.
It's nothing against that person. And most of the time I'm considered an asshole about it. But I've had horrible relationships to the point where I almost got stabbed. I've had one ex-girlfriend throw my son into a trash can. He wasn't alive, apparently, through autopsy. And I've had I just had a horrible experience with relationships. But it's more of like a casing of stone around my heart. I mean, I'll let people in and everything. There's a door still there, but sometimes you got to find the key.
So at what point do you just say, you know what, and make no mistake, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a emotionalologist or anything like that. I don't have any experience in this medical field or psychiatric field, so anything I'm speaking is merely my opinion.
Yeah,
and that's all it's good for.
Even psychologists, you're gonna have to take it as a theory because it's a medical practice.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But my feeling on that is, you've been through a lot and you've experienced terrible things, and with that in mind, it sounds like it's been conditioned to the point where it's like, you know what, I just don't give a fuck.
It has, to the point where it is a person that is like, oh, he's just not listening to me.
Right.
Have you talked to him about it? Well, no. Then why the fuck are you talking to me about it?
I think a lot of that comes from your time in service too, because
Well, corrections officer too.
Okay, and corrections officer. Sometimes just being direct and being on point is all it takes.
Yeah.
And we live in a society now that is so worried about hurting somebody's feelings. When are we just going to stop and just have hard conversations?
That's another thing that a lot of people don't understand is the art of debate.
Dude, there is no reason that you and I can't sit here, and I'm going to do this to myself. And I'm not. But let's say I'm a Democrat. I voted for Joe Biden, and by God, Joe Biden is the way to go. I'm probably going to burn for that, but regardless. And,
I already hate you because of the gas prices.
Right. Right, and I'm not really. I really didn't vote for Joe Biden, but anyhow, that's not the point.
Yeah, but we still talk.
But you know what? And you were a hardcore Trumper. You wore your MAGA hat backwards with your freaking American flag covered shades. And
when he was in office, I did have a freedom boner.
Right there, you go.
Okay.
And we should be able to sit down and have a civil conversation and disagree, and be able to walk away and still go out and have a beer later. And be able to talk about whatever. Be able to talk about the things that we have in common. Be able to talk about your time in service or my time in service, or we can just talk shit about Johnny. It doesn't matter. But we should be able to do that.
I don't know if he listens to these casts. He probably listen to this one just because you're on it and he's not. But we can still talk shit about him.
Right. Well,
I might get a message. But it's kind of funny too. Air Force people talking about an Army person now. I mean, I get him every once in a while, and he'll go, "It's like I'm intelligent." I was like, Johnny, you went into the branch of government that has to have pictures to fix stuff.
So I spent 4 years as a recruiter,
Mm-hmm.
and the Army National Guard was my favorite place to go. I could go into the armory. And they would have literally, it looked like a bookstore for me. And it was just comic books.
Oh, really?
Oh, how to clean your M16, how to do this and how to do that, how to do your laundry, whatever. Dude, they had these comic books. I'm not kidding. They had comic books. In which all stands to reason why they have their new woke commercials and cartoons. Because that's... So, I kid you not. When I would have a young man...
It's just getting better and better.
When I would have a young man or a young lady come into my office and say, well, it's either the Air Force or the Army. I don't know which side I want to go. And I need to go talk to the Army recruiter. Well, as a recruiter, I don't want to lose that individual. Because I don't want to deal with what the Army is going to tell them. I could reach into that drawer on my left-hand side and pull out a couple of comic books, and I would lay them down. I said, those are the training manuals that you are going to receive when you get into the Army. How do you think that they are going to treat you? Do you want to be treated as an adult, or would you like to be treated like you read comic books? 9 out of 10 times.
And it's that 10th time the guy was like, I might go in the Marine Corps.
You know what? I didn't compete with the Marine Corps. That was one of those branches. I just didn't have to. But with the Army guy, it was that one guy that wanted to, well, I'm going to be a Ranger. Fantastic. Go join the Army, get your Ranger tab, and go drive a truck. Good on you. You still have to pass the course and all the other fun stuff.
Yeah.
But
no, they don't even get... I learned this just recently only because I'm at Best. And he said there's a big difference between a person that has a tab and a person that just in the Rangers. Because they still have Rangers. And what you're saying is like, oh yeah, you're going to be driving around a vehicle. That's because they don't have a tab.
Okay.
A lot of the times.
Okay.
But the actual door kickers and everything usually have tabs. But they do have the people that don't have tabs go with them on assaults at times.
Right.
It's just they're not looked down upon, but they're looked down upon.
dude, you need to go clean the latrine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
is that a burn barrel that you need? You need to go burn?
Do you need to get cancer?
I
I think you need to get cancer.
You need to go burn some shit.
I still can't believe all that stuff that's happening with that burn stuff.
It's crazy. You know what? That is the Agent Orange of our generation.
Yeah,
literally.
I was saying that to somebody. I was like, man, that sounds like fucking Agent Orange. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, Agent Orange was Vietnam.
And let me be clear, I am not a combat veteran. I am not I never actually set foot in the sandbox. So anytime
I'm an accidental combat veteran.
That's
but I don't have a combat badge.
Did somebody bite you?
No, I was picking up donuts in Kuwait.
No shit. No shit.
And
no shit.
we had no shit, but we had a drive-by when I was in Kuwait.
Okay.
And this is before 9/11.
And this is how you discovered donut holes, isn't it?
No, this is how I got a PTSD while trying for about 2 years trying to pick up donuts.
Oh.
I couldn't pick up donuts. I was like, hey, we're gonna go to the donut shop. Be careful. Be very careful. You need some body armor? I got some body armor. We're going to pick up fucking donuts, man. This is the United States. There's cops usually there. You're right. You're going to need body armor, though. But and the other time was when I was actually in Afghanistan, because I did research before I went to Afghanistan.
Right.
Well, I went to before 9/11. I did research on this new equipment that we're going to use. I was the first to touch it and everything like that.
Right.
And it was an electric kitchen.
Okay.
And it's a phenomenal piece of equipment. And from what these guys told me when they were in services, one of the guys was in services, and he's like, well, we never touched that. I was like, you never touched the electric kitchen, man? It's so easy. It's basically a Connex box and it has all the stuff inside.
Okay.
And it could feed like 1,000 people.
Nice.
But it runs on electricity.
Okay.
And our base was the first one to deploy with it, and I knew how it worked. I didn't know the ins and outs and everything. And that's how I ended up in Afghanistan, because I worked on it.
Okay.
Because the Army can't figure out a fucking light socket.
Because they didn't issue a comic book on how to fix a light socket.
Yeah, it's fairly new, so they probably they couldn't get anybody to write the comic book yet.
Right.
Okay.
Fair enough.
But what it ended up happening is we're stationed at Kandahar. We took that and we were going to Pakistan to go get food, because a lot of the stuff around us.
Right.
But we had to get food to the base. Anyways, we got food. We got there all right. We were coming back. We hit IED. One of the Hummers hit an IED, and we had insurgents coming in, shooting us and everything. And we were probably around about, I think, 25 miles away from the base. So, but I wasn't issued a weapon, so my happy little ass stayed in the car. Or the truck. It was a semi. And what happened is we were getting fired on so much, and we had to secure the area.
Right.
And the guy outside got hit in the leg. I pulled him into the vehicle, grabbed his weapon, and just started shooting. That's the only combat experience I've ever had. What's really sad, though, through that experience, I don't know if I'm numb to that kind of stuff.
So, this going back to the whole conversation on pain, this is something that I struggle with.
Yeah.
Especially and part of me coming into the American Legion and doing the things that I do there, it comes from a source of almost guilt, because I never set foot in Afghanistan or Iraq, and I was in from 93 to 2001. So on top of all of that, I got out in June of 2001, only for 3 months later for friends of mine to have to pack their bags after 9/11. And there's a lot of guilt there, because I chose to get out. But the other thing about this is, for when I was first stationed at Travis Air Force Base, I begged and pleaded. I said, I want to go. I want to go. A lot of those trips were to Al-Kharj, places, they're relatively cush deployments. But I begged and pleaded to go anyways.
Yeah. Okay, keep on going.
And I continued to get denied. Generally speaking, when at that point in time, if you had a stripe below or above the rank that they were looking to send, they would send you. But I had a commander who refused to send me. It wasn't because I was a bad troop or anything. He was nope. It says a senior airman. You're sending a senior airman. I got to Okinawa, and again, I was begging and pleading to go. But because I was kind of the low guy on the totem pole, it was a squadron of 400 ammo troops. I didn't go. And then when I met my wife, we got married. And no sooner than I got married, it was, hey, are you ready to go? And it was like, you know what? Piss off. I literally just got married. And they did the same thing to my wife. Are you ready to deploy? And she's like, piss off. I'm getting out. And, I just got married. It was funny how that worked. So there is some guilt there that I have for not having ever set foot in the desert and feeling like I haven't done my part. So I did take the recruiting duty job, which was interesting. It was the worst job I ever hated, but it did ultimately prepare me to do what I do here. And a lot of times that's just sitting down with my brothers and sisters who have served overseas. And while I may not be able to relate, one of the things that I can do is shut the hell up and listen.
Yeah. Well, that was a thing, because like my dad, we were going to a honor flight.
Okay.
And you know what that is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
And these are World War II vets, or was this?
No, they finally reached Vietnam.
Okay, I'll say
that's the reason why my dad was able to go.
Okay.
Which on that trip, I met one of those glider pilots.
Oh no way,
dude! Then I did research on the glider pilots after that, and I'm like, you got some fucking balls.
Dude, those guys were the tunnel rats of the air.
Yes, they were.
They were the tunnel rats of the air.
And
insanity.
Yeah, and I just after doing that something like that, I got really more involved and talked to more interesting people, because on that flight there's a lot of interesting people. There is a SF guy, a Green Beret, that he was meeting one of the people that he had talked to for charity to send school supplies over to Afghanistan to the province that he was helping out. And she was like, I made sure that they only got the girls got the paper and pens and stuff like that first. I was like, and this is me. I was like, well, it's kind of feminist. Like, then I thought about it. I was like, oh no, you're absolutely fucking right.
Yeah.
And she saw the look on my face, like, really? And then I thought about it, and I was like, nope, you're actually right. I'm being a dumbass. And she was like, I literally saw your face go from, I can't believe she's saying this, to, oh, no, she's absolutely right, within an instant. I was like, it's kind of scary that you noticed that, but okay.
Right.
But because kids in Afghanistan, girls in Afghanistan are not allowed to learn.
Correct.
And all kinds of weird stuff, because we fucked them over back in the 50s.
Well, then the Russians came in and fucked them over again in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, because if you look at 77 Afghanistan compared to like a year later, in 78, you have a prominent capitalist environment, and women are not wearing shawls or anything like that. I've seen a lot of beautiful women doing that, and now they have to, most of the time, they have to cover even their eyes.
And you know what? There was the same in Iran until the Ayatollah Khomeini showed up and said, hey, You know, we're.
No, Iran's the one where we screwed over in the 50s.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. That was our bad. But
we gave them the stuff to beat up on Iraq, right? Or was that Iraq? We gave Iraq weapons to.
We fucked over so many countries. It's hard to count.
I can't remember which direction that went. I think
we did both, honestly.
So yeah.
We gave we gave weapons to Iraq.
Yes.
To stop Iran, and then when we didn't like Saddam Hussein, we gave weapons to Iran to stop Iraq. And I'm like, God, you're a bunch of morons, aren't you? I mean, literally. But getting back to the actual story, is I just met a lot of people. I wanted to meet more interesting people. I met a cowboy up there that was either he owned the ranch or he's a ranch hand. I think he owned the ranch. And I worked on a ranch for like 2 weeks when I was in the service. I took 2 weeks off so I could work on a ranch.
Fair enough.
By the way, ranch work doesn't agree with me. Clyde only did like 2 weeks.
For what it's worth, I spent my junior and senior year of high school working weekends on a non-working cattle ranch.
A non-working cattle ranch?
A non-working cattle ranch. This gentleman was a crusty old World War II veteran. He was I think he was 7'1". He had one eye, thin as a rail, and his name was Mr. Golan. We met him through church. Fantastic man. His wife was like 6'6". I mean, two tallest people I've ever seen.
One sec. I don't think he knows we're in here.
I like
right
it.
There. But I might have like a secret episode part. But what was really interesting of that, you were talking about the Golden, the 7'1".
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Golan, and they hired me to cut fire lines and run things back and forth up and down the hills with the tractor and everything else. Mr. Golan was in his mid-70s, late 70s. Throw that on the floor and just put it down there so it does make noise. But yeah, it was quite the experience, and it was not uncommon to hear the gunshots go off while I'm working, where he'd tell you, he goes, I'm deathly afraid of bees and rattlesnakes. And he would go right up to the rattlesnake and pop it right in the back of the head with a shotgun. And this is in California back in the 90s, 80s and 90s.
Oh, wow.
So back when you can get away with that kind of stuff. Now I think the communist state of California won't allow you to even own a weapon.
No, if you're on a ranch or something like that, you can still get away with it.
Yeah, as long as they can't hear it, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe track it with a satellite. But yeah, it was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and we'll just say it helped build character.
I bet it did. But yeah, it was one of those things though. I was like, I don't like talking too much about my past. Not that it is anything bad or anything like that, but I like to. That was one thing I'm starting to open up a little bit more. Is I used to like keep everything, entrapped and everything, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, why was I holding back?
So let me ask you a question. How many people have you spoken to and just said, and this is me, my psychiatrist voice, how many people have let you speak?
Every one of them.
And literally listen
but
to you.
They're mostly my close friends.
Okay. Because a lot of the times that's where I struggle sometimes is I will sit and listen to somebody talk, but when I need to vent, there's nobody there. And
what's really sad is you said that weekend, and like not 5 minutes before I got there, I had to do that, and it's hard for me, especially if I need to be somewhere, because I hate being late. In the back of my mind, if I'm 30 minutes late, if I'm 30 minutes early, that's still late in my book.
Right.
And I don't know where I got it from. I think it stems from and it's not military or anything like that.
I'll say it's definitely not Air Force.
Yeah, it stems from the fact of I had a 1978 Chevy Impala that literally exploded. That was his last leg. It just exploded. So it was always late, and I hate being late, and I don't care if someone's late on for me,
Right.
Because I always entertain myself. But I can't be late. And if I am late, I'm like, oh man, I'm definitely sorry. I didn't mean that, blah, 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 blah. But it's just one of those things. And I was almost late. I was rushing. What had happened was I was rushing to get to the Comic-Con so I can get them there, look around, and then go back. I figured it would only take. I was late I got done with something like an hour earlier. Something that should have taken a lot more time, and it didn't. And I ended up getting at their place at 2:00. Got the stuff done. Got there, and she was having problems, and she knew. I mean, I make it obvious that I'm just like, I need to go. I thought the conversation was over, and it took us about an extra 30 minutes. And she had a legitimate griping.
Right.
And when you said that to me, it was like, you just gotta fucking listen sometimes. I was like, man, I was doing a douchebag way. Maybe I should apologize. No. Yeah. I should have apologized to make myself feel better, and I thought about it, and I was just like, But her problem was she does massages and everything, and one of her clients had the camera facing the bedroom, and that's where she does the massages and everything.
Wow, is this in the state of Texas, or is this?
Yeah. I told her she can sue him if she has valid proof and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so she went to a massage therapist.
No, she was the massage.
She was the massage therapist.
Yeah. And what was really funny about the whole thing, though, is the basic fact of the way that he explained it. He's like, well, that's just in case there's an intruder and I shoot him, so I have evidence. And she explained the whole thing of you had to open up your phone, turn on the app, turn on the camera through the app, and then hit record.
Right. Which all this sounds.
How fast can you kill a person?
Pretty quick.
Faster than I can open up that fucking iPhone.
You know,
even with the facial recognition, I can still kill somebody faster than opening that phone. And every time she was adding to it, and I was getting frustrated because I wanted to leave, and it was. She had a right to be griping at me a little bit, and I was being inconsiderate. But you're absolutely right. But on situations like that, I honestly, I want to have I get this way to where I have to be very fast at getting stuff done. And this is down to where I learned it as a correctional officer. Because they always ask me, it's like, hey, I need to talk to you. I was like, hey, can you wait like 20 minutes while I do this stuff? Yeah, boss. Okay. I'll come back around, but they always know. I'll come back around, and
right.
I'll listen to their complaint, gripes, or if they just needed something, it's like, hey, my wife just put me for a divorce. I don't know why. Maybe because you're not there anymore. But, you know... But I've always done that. I was like, I don't feel comfortable talking to you right now because I'm busy. Right. And I'm sorry for that. But I'll come back and I'll talk to you again.
Right.
But I always come back, and I'd rather divulge all my intention to stuff like that.
Right.
And that that's the bad thing. I mean, there's times that I'll forget, and I'm like, oh shit, I'll call it that person. But nowadays, it's harder to find that person that just wants that'll just be that ear.
It is.
Unless you're like paying for them.
You're not wrong. And,
I'm not talking about therapists, I'm talking about hookers.
No, the hell, no.
I said pay.
Well, I'm going to leave that alone because I can get in a lot of trouble if my wife sees this. No, no, I'm just kidding. No, the reality of it is, it's only been recent months for me that I've come across some friends who are willing to just sit down and listen.
Yeah.
I've had one or two in the past, but now I've got a couple. I've finally been able to surround myself with a couple of people who will take the time and reciprocate that that kindness, because that's what it is. It's a kindness, and it's something that a lot of people struggle to do. A lot of people don't listen well to begin with.
Absolutely.
And you realize real quick that, okay, I can share these things with you, but the next day they're asking you, what's wrong with you? What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, dude, yesterday we sat down for 45 minutes over a beer, and you don't remember a damn thing I told you because you were too busy watching the damn game on the, above the bar, or you were too busy freaking trying to, scratch the number from the for a good time.
That's another thing that a lot of people don't understand is the new generation's coming from talking to people through text.
Absolutely.
And it could be like a fast couple of letters that mean something to them. And they don't understand when you come up. It's like, hey, I just need to email my job right now. I worked at ABB when it was here.
Right.
And I know how to work on a panel.
Okay.
But when there's no information on the panel.
Because you don't have a comic book.
Yeah, I don't have a comic book, that's right.
Sorry, I digress.
I know. Callback. That's called a callback in the business.
There you go.
But I was like, today I had a problem with somebody, and he kept on giving me the wrong information I was giving him. I told him, I was like, hey, where do these wires right here go? Well, if you look at the sheet and everything, I was like, motherfucker, these wires are supposed to go like 15 different directions at times.
Right.
Where do these specific wires go? And then I asked somebody else, and they go to a door. I was like, so I need to leave because I have I got a split with the same numbers.
Right.
Okay. So this one goes here. I know this. This one goes where? There's nothing on there that tells me where it's supposed to go. And then finally someone told me, it was like, oh, it goes to a door. I was like, oh. It took me 20 minutes for that one. I was pissed.
Fun with schematics.
No, a lot of the schematics on that stuff don't exist.
Damn.
Yeah. And I've worked on that kind of stuff, but having somebody come over and tell you, hey, in five seconds, okay, that goes there, instead of having to listen to something for like 20 minutes. And he was just like, oh, all you have to do is this. He treats me like I'd never done this stuff. And I've told him, I was like, dude, I've worked ABB. I know more than you. I mean, legitimately, I probably know more than you. I can work on robotics. Right. I can do this. I need to know where these wires go so I can put them there so I can get the fucking rest of this thing done.
Right.
But I just don't think a lot of the people understand and know how to talk to somebody anymore.
I think you're absolutely right.
There's a lot of people that can, though. There
are. But then why would you want to communicate with somebody who's not going to listen?
Exactly.
And that's it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. That's the hard part.
Yeah, because a lot of the stuff nowadays is coming to the point where, and this isn't instilled from like, oh, it just recently happened with this upcoming generation. No, we've been kind of screwing ourselves to the point where our attention span, it's like, okay, our attention span back in the 1920s was this. And
Right.
because of the entertainment industry and how we get in our information and everything like that, it's shrunk to our attention span is only like this.
Oh, we get everything's at our fingertips. We don't have to go buy a newspaper. We don't have to sit at the barber shop and find out what's going on in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, that's where a lot, even my dad taking me to the barber shop and dropping me off and saying, hey, here you go. I got errands to run. And you'd sit there with a bunch of old men and you listen to the old men. Because, by God, if you spoke up and you're 12, 13 years old, they're going to look at you like, who the hell are you and where'd you come from?
Funny story.
You learn to sit, you learn to listen, and I grew up in California, so they talk about the Rams, the Dodgers, and how much they hated the current politician or city council.
Funny story is a couple of weeks ago I had my hair cut, and there was this kid, I think he was like 5 or 6, and he was just, I learned everything I needed to know about his family. He was so talkative. It was entertaining.
Right.
And I'm like, it gets to the point where you had those little spots, and you're like, okay, maybe the world's not going to fuck over.
But it is.
Well, yeah, eventually. Eventually. But.
So, if we can go back just a little bit, you talked about meeting interesting people and talking to them.
Yeah.
Craziest job you've heard anybody talk about in the military. What is the craziest job? Because this is one of those things that came up for me a couple of years ago. Would have never guessed this job existed in the military, but it did. So this is me offering a pissing contest. I want to see what you got.
Well, they still have cavalry horsemen.
Right.
So, I mean, it's very few on that one. It's just basically for show. Because they stopped using cavalry horsemen back in World War I. They still had horses in World War II, but I have no idea what's the craziest job.
So, I have met guys. In fact, my barber when I was in Flagstaff was a barber in Korea. Mm-hmm. A guy that I was in a Bible study with was a butcher for the Air Force, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, he was a butcher. But I was at the American Legion post in Bowie, and this guy comes in and he's got a medical field badge on his hat. And I said, "So, what did the Air Force teach you to do in the medical field?" And he said, occupational medicine. I said, okay. I said, so that's what, going around handing out earplugs and stuff like that. Help me out here. I know what occupational medicine is from my time in, but this guy's obviously significantly older. He was a Cold War vet, for lack of better terms. And he goes, I trained monkeys to fly B-52s. I said, you did what? He goes, yeah, I trained monkeys how to fly B-52s. I said, so you trained chimpanzees to fly planes? He goes, no, it was actually rhombus monkeys. Do you know what the difference is? I said, no, sir. He said, what's the difference? He said, a rhombus monkey will bite off your finger. A chimpanzee will rip off your arm. Okay, how did you get into this? He goes, and this guy was enlisted, which blew my mind. He goes, so my job was to, over time, train these monkeys to sit in the simulator for these B-52s and ultimately train them to sit in the cockpit with a blacked out helmet on, and then we would drop them into a hole and hit them with gamma rays in order to see what the effects on the pilots would be after dropping a nuclear weapon. And he did this under Pasadena, California. Is that not the wildest shit you've ever heard?
I mean, I've heard the Russians training orcas, but I've never heard anything like that.
Training monkeys to fly B-52s.
That is fucking phenomenal.
It's crazy. I was like, wow. Wow.
It's like, yeah, you, sir, you have topped me.
I am putting that in my back pocket because that is the coolest thing ever.
That is.
I mean,
I've heard stories where they do that. I mean, they did. I mean, look at Quantum Leap. They did that one episode with when he got into the body of a chimp and everything.
Old show. Wow.
Yeah, that's old show.
Scott Bakula.
Yeah, but no, I remember that episode. I mean, they used to like slam things in chimps' heads, but the chimps has like a harder skull and everything, so it's basically false dated and everything. Right. But that, sir, is top of the raise.
I'm gonna drop you in a hole and hit you.
So they're trying to make monkey Hulks?
No, they just wanted to find out what the effects were going to be after dropping a nuclear weapon on the pilots. How would it affect them physically? I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong. You can't really tell how they're going to psychologically react.
Well, that just reminds me of
crazy, though. Will it kill them? Essentially is what it boiled down to. And this is why we have the ASPC.
What is that called?
And Sarah McLachlan singing songs about dying animals.
Yeah. What is that thing called? The collider.
The U2.
Where they collide protons.
Oh, the collider. Okay, the like an atom.
Super collider. That's what it's called. Yeah, it's called a super collider. Well, I was going through the tube. I like to call YouTube the tube.
Okay.
But I was going down the tube.
I appreciate your hood lingo.
I know, right? I was going down the tube, and I found this episode to where this guy. It was the Russian super collider.
Right.
And the guy goes in the room, and he had an electron go through his body. And I'm talking, it made a hole. It wasn't through his body; it was through his skull. It made a hole straight through.
Right.
And he didn't die. I mean, he still. And you're talking about something that's because the way it was described in it was. There's supposed to be a light saying that the collider's on or the radiation's going through and everything like that. Well, he had to go into the room. The room was supposed to be sealed once the stuff is on. It wasn't. The light was busted. Everything was going wrong, so he thought, oh, it's safe to go in there. He goes in there and he's working on a thing and he feels this pinch. That's it, just a pinch.
So clearly he did not read the OSHA manual before.
This is Russia. They don't have OSHA.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
No. It's Russia. But he goes in there. Even the doctors, the radiologists and everything like that, he should have died from just the radiation itself.
Right.
But it just goes to show of how much the human body can take.
And you know what? Let's talk COVID. COVID is a prime example that everybody's body reacts differently.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we had COVID in our house, and I had double pneumonia with all the fun stuff. I didn't lose taste or smell. My wife, on the other hand, lost both. Spent 3 days in bed, and that was it. And then my son lost his sense of smell, and that was it. All three of us in the same house, totally different symptoms. All three of us. So it's just kind of wild.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, you have a person, me and you.
Right.
I'm a smoker. I have this. I should have everything going against me. I should be dead. I had COVID. Nothing happened.
Right.
You, on the other hand, had basically you're going to die. You felt that you're going to die. Well, because you had a lot of symptoms. You basically, I mean, if you had the flu and everything, we're men. Come on, just a minute. If we get sick a little bit and we know we're sick, we're crying like little bitches.
That was the first time I've ever had pneumonia. That is, I haven't been sick in years. In fact, the last time I had the flu, I was stationed in Okinawa. which was back in like 1995. So anytime I get a sniffle, it's like, crap, the end is near.
The only time I've had pneumonia was when I was a kid.
Right.
I was a newborn. That's
Okay.
the only time. After that, I've earaches are really bad. The fix from a doctor told me to stop getting earaches is chew gum. So I always chew gum.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'll get sick, especially when I was working corrections. Corrections is a freaking honeypot of just you getting sick all the time.
Yeah, it's a germ.
Yeah.
I mean, germs everywhere. It's kind of like being a school teacher.
Yeah, oh, it's even worse than being a school teacher. I mean, you're still babysitting, but the kids you can beat up. Half the time in corrections, you might get lucky for beating them up.
Right.
But it was like when my mom passed. It was a strange feeling, but everybody wanted to talk to me because I looked so sad, and that was like 2001.
So is that weird that everybody because I've always found that weird. If I'm hurting from loss, if I'm people want to come and they want to talk to you instead of listen to you. And from a biblical perspective, if you've ever read the book of Job, Job's 3 friends showed up and they sat there and they just to suffer with him. Essentially is what it boils down to. And everything was going fine until those guys started talking. And that's when it all kind of went to crap. And Job had to chastise his own friends because they wouldn't shut up.
That's actually in the Bible.
Yeah, that's
he chastised.
He pretty much chastises, and you know what? It's just wild to me. It's because people couldn't sit quietly and just mourn with him.
Well,
instead they chose to tell him to deny his God. And let's face it, the dude just needed to mourn.
Yeah. But you also have this fact of, and this is case studies of how to get information from people. This is from detectives. The best way to actually get somebody to start talking about what they did is to be quiet and look at paperwork. And I've had a couple of cop friends. I was like, can you sit still and be in a quiet room and then not talk? And I was like, yeah, if I'm entertained, I have a thing to where I can create my own environment and everything like that. I have a really creative imagination.
Okay.
And he was like, really, I want to test this theory. So he took me and it's like, okay, I want you to open up this envelope and then we're going to go in and we're going to see if you can not say a word. I was like, all right, no, I'm game. I'll play your silly little game there, buddy. So I opened up the envelope. It was just, I robbed a convenience store. And I was sitting there and everything, and he was just looking at his paperwork. And it just went on like that for a good 10 minutes when I broke. And I didn't mean to break.
It just happens.
It was that whole thing of, what are you looking at over there? I was like, oh, I'm looking at you robbing a convenience store. I'm like, I didn't rob that convenience store. Are you sure? Because it looks like you did. We didn't catch you on camera because the camera's broke. But we found that one of the witnesses described you to a T. I was like, maybe I did rob that convenience store. And it just escalated from that because it's easy to convince a person, and sometimes it's kind of lazy detective work, but it works, and that's the process they go through.
There's psychology behind it.
Yeah. And we left him, it's like, Hey, quick question. Did I really rob a convenience store? No, you didn't. Okay, just trying to get peace of mind because my imagination worked overdrive, and I was actually thinking I actually robbed a convenience store.
So, that's funny that you mentioned that because a lot of those are the same types of things that we used as recruiters. You learn to sit quietly, ask a couple open-ended questions. I'm not going to say bait them, but you kind of lay some things out there. And while you're back and forth a little bit, again, not shuffling papers necessarily, but kind of staying preoccupied yourself, but with purpose, people will start talking. And interestingly enough, they will usually sell themselves on the Air Force or the Army or whichever branch.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to watch once you've let it happen a few times. That's what good recruiters do. They sit there, shut up, and let you talk your way into it.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, even Mattis was talking about one time he went in and he was just curious. They've already gotten the information from one of the insurgents.
Right.
And he was just curious. I was like, why are you doing this? I mean, legitimately, why are you doing this? And he's like, I got nothing else better to do. And I was like, okay, so if we had programs to set you up for like jobs and everything that actually helps out your family, and they tried it for a while to get economic support, and that's one of the things they should have done in the first place, because if like right now they have steps to leave Afghanistan,
right,
and it's tossy-turvy for a little bit because there's people out there that don't want it because, hey, why were we over there in the first place type deal. And there's people out there it's like, no, we shouldn't be. We've been there for like 20 years. 21 years, actually.
Right, because we couldn't learn from Napoleon and Russia.
No, there's even weirder stories. Did you know we actually supported the Taliban for a little bit, too? To kill ISIS?
Oddly enough, I did. Oddly enough,
I found that out, and I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
It's interesting,
Who's your friends at the... Well, that gives us a stilt to the phrase that I usually use, because, like, how could they do that? I was like, well, you're never supposed to hate your enemy, because one day they're going to have to be your friend.
The friend of my enemy, or the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
And, it's wild when you start looking into, like, going back to our conversation a little bit ago about Iran and Iraq.
Yeah.
And we supported Iraq or Iran or whatever. I guess we supported Iraq.
We supported them both, technically, if you want to look down the rabbit hole.
Right. But, Iran started dropping chemical warheads and chemical weapons on the Iraqis. So we said, oh, here's some anti-Iranian bullshit. Let's, go ahead and, give it back to them. So, yeah, I mean, we have a history of that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But, see, this is one thing I like about... And Johnny, every time he listens to stuff like this, he's like, man, we've been bouncing back and forth. It's like, I'm telling you right now, with strange fact of, just shut up and listen, there's a lot of people, and this is the reason why podcasts are a thing right now, is people just want to listen at times.
Yeah.
And people just want to go out and they want to... I don't want to say vegetate, but they just wanted to
I'm going to disagree to a certain degree. And the reason being, I'm sorry I cut you off, but because I'm a nice guy, I apologize. That's what I do. Sorry. Again, there I go again. Holy crap. No, honestly, I think a lot of this boils down to the fact that today's music sucks ass.
Well, okay.
It does.
Ice Cube said this, and he's like, because someone asked him, it's like, the rap today, do you think it sucks? It's like, well, yeah, I think it's horribly sucked. But they had that moment, and he's like, you know what? There's probably people that looked at my music back in the day and said it would suck. So I'm not even gonna have an opinion on this. And that's what's real. I mean, there's some music that a lot of people don't listen to because the only music a lot of people around a certain community, we'll go with that.
Okay.
Certain community listens to is what everybody listens to, and most of the time it's just what's on the radio. And even your searches and everything like that on like Spotify or whatever app that you use, it says, okay, he likes this stuff right here. We're going to give him that stuff. And that's all he's going to hear. Have you ever heard of anything called epic music?
No.
Look up J2 or Hidden Citizen.
Okay.
It's 80s music set with orchestra.
Really?
Yes.
That sounds kind of cool.
And there's some did you watch Aaliyah?
No.
The Robert Rodriguez movies about that anime cartoon, but they did it live action?
The reality is, when it comes to movies and entertainment, I generally live under a rock.
Anyways, they did a new divide, and they did it with epic music. And I was watching Ted Lasso from, it's an Apple TV show.
Okay.
And there's a scene in one of the episodes to where he grabs this. It's technically supposed to be a homeless guy that plays music. I guess you could call him a carny or something like that, or just someone that plays music out in the front of the building.
Okay.
And he gets tips for that. And he brought him in, and his name is Cam Cole. He does all the music by himself, and it's blues. I love blues. Right. And I listen to it, and it's fucking phenomenal.
Okay.
He does all the instruments himself. He plays the drums, he plays the guitar, he plays, I guess it would be, what is it? Like,
tambourine?
Is it a tambourine? Is it like the monkey?
Like cymbals?
Cymbals, yeah.
Okay.
I know there's an actual name for it. But he does all this by himself. But I've also, there's an Australian guy that does the same thing. And he basically plays the blues, but apparently you can play the blues as a one-man band.
That's kind of crazy.
It's really good music.
And I would probably enjoy that. But,
But that's new music.
I hear things about some of these musicians or artists or whatever you want to call them. I would argue on both counts. But I don't even have a desire to listen to. I
can't play this stuff because it gets demonetized and they want to take down the episode and everything like that. But
even if I'm scrolling through the radio stations in the car on a road trip, I just can't. Even some of the stuff that I listened to in high school, and that's usually stuff
I've listened to some of the stuff from high school and everything, and I'm like, how was this even popular?
Right, and I would kind of gravitate towards that stuff a lot of the times, but even then, I can only take so much of it, and then it's like, you know what? I'll go to Order of Man podcast. I'll go to Joe Rogan. Oddly enough, I will go to Angry Meat Productions. Selfless plug right there, I'm sure. But and I will listen to you guys banter back and forth. So absolutely, it's and to this day, I will still argue that golf is not a sport. Sorry, not sorry.
I'm totally with you.
It's quite all right.
But it's just that I understand that some of the music nowadays isn't. I mean, Puddle's Pity Party. That's what I was trying to look up. Have you ever heard of him? It's this huge guy, Big Mine Oakland. He's from Georgia. He went on to America's Got Talent, and he dressed up like a big clown. He's like 6'5",
Right.
bald head. I'll send you a thing of his music and everything, but it's like listening to he does old songs, but it's like listening to opera.
Really? That would be cool.
And he had talent beforehand. He just made this whole new
He created his own genre is what he did.
no, a juke, and that's another one is jukebox.
Okay.
It's like 1920s style music of modern music.
Wow. I can only imagine it would sound better.
It's
Because I just...
it's so weird
Right.
because it's like it's so slow.
Yeah.
It's commonly slow.
So
It's
do
weird.
they add brass into it as well?
Mhm.
Because that's something that you don't hear a lot of.
It's just like 1920s.
I'll be damned.
Yeah. I mean, they did like Nine Inch Nails. They did a version of Nine Inch Nails. They did a version of God, I can't remember the band's name. Black Hole.
Okay.
You know, Black Hole Sun. Black Hole Sun, won't you come?
Yeah, I know.
Take away my misery. I don't even think that's the fucking lyrics. But
You know what? You had me fooled. I'd just go with it because
I could have gone with it and I just made a whole. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then someone would just comment like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you idiot. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
for the
not
record,
gonna-
neither do I. But that's okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. We can close it out on this. We've been talking probably about an hour and a half.
That's fine.
But-
I don't know how much pain we discussed. Really didn't.
We jumped around.
Yeah.
But we got to the nibble point of, you just got to listen
Right.
at times. And
So-
a lot of body language too.
So let me kind of end it on this. Maybe I don't know. There was a gentleman when I first joined the American Legion and decided that okay, I will push to make this post last long enough. Backstory, real quick. When I joined the American Legion, I joined a post a couple doors down and decided it wasn't for me. And the post 2 doors down was like, oh, hey, we're going to close our doors. Why don't you come on over and see if anybody wants to take it over? Because, well, I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I'll do this. Because I don't like the post that I'm at. I'm going to go 2 doors down, and I will go hang out there until my membership is over. And I will go back to just doing whatever Mike does in his spare time. When I got there, there were 3 other people there. There was a 92-year-old Frank Slavens, and there was Janine Donaldson, who was the widow of a guy who had run the post for many years. And then there was her friend that would come and hang out. And occasionally, one of the local judges, who was a member of the post, would come and show up and be a part of it. But he was obviously stretched thin, couldn't make it, and decided to go, okay, you know what, I will entertain, because Frank's 92 years old, he's got leukemia, he's got diabetes. This dude's not going to last much longer.
He already had a couple of. He sounds like he had like half his body already in the grave.
True story.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I'll even, and they asked me, so Frank may not be here tomorrow. Will you take over the post just to be able to handle it when he's gone? Sure, whatever. Special election, 2 of us sitting there, because Frank was the only other Legionnaire. It was unanimous. Mike was going to be be the post commander.
Did he? I think in my head, I'm picturing him just going, "Who? No, here? Oh, okay."
No, Frank was actually very alert and very cognitive.
Oh man, you just ruined my hopes and
I
dreams.
know, I did. No, because Frank ruined mine. Because I had every intention of being gone within a year or so, and oddly enough, I grew to have an amazing relationship with Frank.
Okay.
But Frank lived to be 98 years old.
Oh wow.
So over the course of this, I'm going to get the hell out of here in a year. It lasted 6 years with him, and in that time frame, the post just exploded. The post got to a point where
When was this?
That was in 2013.
Okay.
And we had like 60 members on the books. Half of those people were already deceased. The post currently sits at a membership of 230 plus members.
Oh wow.
So that's where we're at right now. And again, I was like, okay, so I went to, where can I find veterans? Where's the best place in Wichita Falls to go introduce myself to veterans and say, hey, come help me out? Because I know nothing about leadership. I know nothing about what the hell I'm doing. I am literally...
That's actually the best learning experience, though.
Oh, my gosh. It is.
Because falling, you learn to pick yourself up.
Do you know what I really learned? I learned that I had those skills, and I had never needed them until that day. Whether it was the things that I learned on recruiting duty, on how to on how to communicate with people, being able to stand in front and communicate in an open environment. Those leadership skills, every veteran has the basics. Every single one of us is issued. I mean, it's government issued basic leadership skills. Honing them, on the other hand, that's a whole nother animal.
Yeah. Well, that's how I started this and everything like that. I didn't know what I was going into and everything like that, and then I had people actually, not people like on my YouTube channel,
Right,
or Spotify or Apple, but I had people listening to me saying, "Okay, this is how you want it." I mean, I was like, "Wait a minute, you're actually listening to it?" I was like, "Well, it's your roadshow." I was like, "It is my roadshow." Then I got an ego, started bossing people around. They started running away. Johnny's probably about one hair strand of jumping ship and everything.
no, he's not
But
gonna...
he loves his thing so much, and I'm actually glad that I finally found somebody that enjoys it along with me. And
Well, you guys make a great pair. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys
we
are
do.
like twinsies. It's great.
well, it's not really twinsies. It's
No,
like
it's like twinsies.
no, it's definitely not twinsies
it's
because
twinsies.
there's times that Johnny, if you actually watch it on YouTube,
I have.
and you just see Johnny just go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you actually said that." You do realize this is going on the internet. I mean, there's one time that he actually legitimately said, "You do realize this is going on the internet?" It's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck.
So I'm sitting there at the gun show because I had decided that the gun show was probably the best place to go find veterans, specifically my age.
Exactly.
Because I wanted to surround myself with people who would, if I'm going to do this, let's find some people to hang out with, some people that I would enjoy being around. And there's this man walking around. He's got turtle shells wrapped around his legs. He's got a beaver pelt hanging off of his back.
Legitimate turtle shells.
All I'm serious is a heart attack.
Okay.
And this guy, he's Native American, and he's got embroidered in his stuff the Vietnam veteran ribbon. I'm okay. So I said, hey, dude, my name is Michael Kurtz. I'm with Post 169. Do you have a local American Legion home? He looked right at me. He goes, why the fuck would I join your organization when 50 years ago you didn't want anything to do with me? I was like, wait a minute, what the hell? Ouch. I don't know where this is coming from. And this is things that I didn't understand. And he quickly sat down and explained to me in short order, that when he rolled back into New York, coming back from Vietnam, essentially the men and women in the American Legion post that he went to called him a baby killer.
Oh shit.
This is
Well, yeah, okay.
this is something that hit me really hard because I didn't understand. I knew that men and women, especially men coming home from Vietnam, were spit on. They were disparaged. There was nothing kosher about coming home. What I didn't realize was the amount of of hate coming from the World War II and Korean War veterans.
Well, what you also got to understand, if you actually look back of stuff that happened starting of Operation Enduring Freedom and everything like that, it was the Vietnam vets that were speaking out saying, you will not treat these boys,
Yes.
these girls like this, like way you treated us.
Yes.
And I've literally talked to a Vietnam vet that actually saw combat and everything, and he shook my hand. He's like, "Thank you for your service." I was like, "Oh, thank you, sir." And I didn't see the Vietnam vet stuff. I was like, "Well, I was in Vietnam." I was like, "Oh, I'd love to hear your story," and he told me the story and everything. And he was like, "I will make sure they do not treat," and it's actually happening now.
Yeah.
And because I call my brother, but we're friends since high school. He has a person that's working for him that they believe that he was a baby killer because of all the stories that happen.
But you know what? This guy, he really kind of, like I said, when he went in just to have a beer, and those guys, those World War II veterans, those Korean War veterans, they looked at him and treated him the same way. I mean, you would think that he would be able to walk into an American Legion post or a VFW or whatever, and, dude, we've been there. We understand. We're with you. You know, we're
Yeah, because there's a lot of shady shit that happened in World War II, and there's a lot of shady shit that happened in Vietnam or Korea.
So my eyes got opened, and this guy went off. Well, it turns out this guy had a regular booth at the gun show. So every time the gun show would come around, I would go find him, and I would talk to him. I was like, dude, tell me why. Tell me what it was. And I wasn't asking him, what did you see? What did you do? I wanted to know why. What it was. You know, tell me about those experiences at the American Legion post. Tell me why. Help me understand, because I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And he did. He sat there and he would explain things. And ultimately, as I sat there quietly, listening to his stories, he diverted. And this is where it got scary for me. Because he would start explaining to me and sharing with me some of the dreams and some of his experiences. I would sit there listening to this man with tears running down my face, because I could not imagine seeing and experiencing the things that he saw and dealing with them the way that he had to deal with them, as a 19-year-old kid.
Oh yeah.
It blew my mind.
That's what a lot of people don't understand is those people actually that is starting in the war, or even in the middle of it, or even at the ending.
Yeah.
Were 19 to 20, 18 to 21,
Yeah.
sometimes 17.
Yes. And going back to World War II, we're talking about people who lied about their age to get in at, 15 years old.
We did one episode. It's called Tanks and Trenches.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically talking about World War One. 11.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Back in World War One, they literally had to they were sending them back in droves.
Yeah.
And they were paying. They literally had a money system to do it, to where they basically paid the parents to keep the kids.
Yeah.
From going into this war. So, yeah, it just astounds to where people have the idiocy to think their opinion's right, and they just keep on growing on it.
So I continued to talk to this guy, and I spoke with him literally damn near every gun show going on to...
Is he still around?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've met him. He's starting to have some issues. When he does come back around, I'll be more than happy to introduce you to him. But this dude, finally, and I never asked him to join the post. I never asked him. Again, I was like, okay, it's just not going to happen. He's already said no, but I'm going to befriend him. And it got to the point where we were having conversations about outhouses. We met up with some guys who were members of the post up in Burke Burnett, and we started having conversations about outhouses. And he got in on this conversation about outhouses. And ultimately, I went back to my table, and he went back to his, and he comes by, and he says, Mike, back when I was in Vietnam, we had this incident, and it was on this ship, and it was around this time frame. He goes, I wonder what happened to that young man. And essentially what it was this young Marine who had shot a child. And in the end, this guy sat there and spent time with him, trying to keep him from taking his own life or whatever. And he spent several days on the ship with this guy, and they ultimately, to protect him, they put a guard outside the door or outside the area so that he could kind of talk this guy off. And it was kind of crazy. And he obviously describes it better than I do, but he goes, man, what would happen? I said, well, I wonder what happened. I said, well, why don't you reach out? You know what ship, you know when. I said, put an ad in the VFW magazine, the American Legion magazine, and the DAV magazine. See what happens. Maybe, people post this kind of stuff in there all the time, and try to reach out and find out. So I gave him a magazine, and I said, here you go do it. Well, inside the magazine, there was a membership card. And he comes back, and he's got that membership card filled out. 2 years. 2 years of just sitting there listening to this guy tell me stories.
That's one thing I've always been afraid of, and this is coming from because my family has dementia and stuff like that, and I'm always afraid that we're going to forget our history. Right. I mean, not oh, we need to remember history because of this. No, because we got to remember our mistakes so we don't go ahead. And it's maybe this might be a good idea. Maybe this might not be a good idea.
Probably shouldn't tear down that monument.
Yeah.
Just my opinion. But it's only good for what? My opinion.
Yeah.
Low,
I can't wipe my ass with it.
No, I can't. I want to ass with it.
All right. Well, everybody, I'm David Dickerman. Thank you for watching a What the Hell episode with Mike Kurtz. And I hope you just enjoy the rest of the show.